Yeah.
It's like branded.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, put the hat there. Yeah, that's legit.
Represent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What was going on with that horse is he couldn't go in a straight line. So when I see horses like this and I get on them and you see that, I call it like bouncing around like a ping pong ball.
Yeah.
So their mind is everywhere but here.
Yeah.
So this is what has now like been this game changer for me, is connecting the aids to the mind. So what I've learned working with Dr. Steve Peters and like all these other people, like I've got 2 mentors right now in Germany, and we're bringing the science with the horse training and understanding the horse's brain and the horse's motor sensory.
Yeah.
So horses can learn through repetition, like motor learn through repetition, doesn't mean that their mind is connecting to the aid. So they're not cognitively
like
changing thoughts.
Yeah.
So it's been like complete game changer, because now like if I ask them to follow an aid, so I think of it like yoga, like grounding exercises.
Okay.
So if a horse is distracted, I want to be able to take a rein and their thoughts change. So this is relational horsemanship from Josh Nickel. I already understood the connecting, but then Josh has now expanded and like has, I don't want to say coined it, but relational horsemanship. So relating the mind to the body and then how it functions. And as a prey animal, if they're concerned about something, they have a survival instinct to fear everything. Everything is going to kill them until proven otherwise. So when we come into new environments, these horses think everything is going to kill them. So if we haven't installed that grounding tool and that connection of the mind to the aids, then they're just going to bounce all over the place. And if we don't bring them back and they don't connect, they think it's every man for themselves. And that's where we have these horses where, you know, we feel their shoulders going left and right, and it's because their mind is going left and right, left and right. So now I just connect, and I'll just from the ground first just connect that aid. So I'll take the rein. Not just until they follow it, but until they actually flick an ear, flick an eye, and actually look at me, and then I'll release it.
Is that what you're paying attention to? Is like your.
That's what I'm paying
attention to. That's what I was wondering.
to.
Like, I understand the concept, and it's kind of funny to say how like they think they're gonna die, because barrel racers literally make fun of that. Like, oh, you know, my horse thought they're gonna die at first barrel. Like the barrel's gonna eat them.
They actually
but it literally is. Like they do think the barrel's gonna eat them. It's like a real.
It is, and that is what is so, and that's why I'm so passionate about this topic, because I'm like, now that we can think and see like a horse, because we are technically predators and they are technically prey. So their brains are completely different. They think completely different. Like if you think about it, a human baby doesn't walk until how long?
Riley.
And then you look at the full. Hey, dogs. Good dogs.
Good job.
And then
good doggy.
And then, you know, we're thinking at like a human horse, or a horse is up and walking within hours to minutes, right?
Yeah,
that's
good,
okay. So when we start to see their brains and how different they are, but again, it comes from this like empathetic place of I want to help you feel safe. I want to help you feel better.
Like as us as riders, you mean?
Us as riders, yeah. So like if the horse is not okay, then they're going to carry tension. Because they're a prey animal, the way their eyes work, the way their brains work, they bring their heads up. Well, when they bring their heads up, they hollow their back. They cannot move their spines, which means they cannot use their hind ends, which means they cannot make a shape around a barrel. They crossfire, they float shoulders, all these things, because their minds are not present. So if we can strategically bring them back to the present moment, which is here and now, bring their focus to us, not all the scary things, then this peace starts to come over them. And then we can go together. And what I found is, like I keep saying to people, like, I'm doing less, but I'm getting more. Because when the horse is present, I start to move my hand, they're here to see it, to hear it, to respond to it. But if they're staring at the banner, I'm going to have to use a lot more pressure to try and draw their attention back. So
is that what you do though? Like would you literally, so you'd like maybe let's say like the test, like the lure, or not lure, but like lighter, and then a bit harder to actually get that response?
No, just neutral resistance. So this is what I picked up from Mark Rashid, is that a horse, well, I think it's actually just physics. So the harder you pull, the harder they will pull against you.
Of course.
So a neutral resistance, and like my husband, I can say husband now.
I see that ring.
We just got married. Hi. Yeah. So my husband.
How can you not see it? Sorry, go on.
I know. Thanks. It's okay. So he understood neutral resistance, but he's not a formal educator. So like he knows the feel of it and he can do it. But then I was reading Mark's book. Oh my God, I can remember. Basically, it's about restarting horses. And he said, you know, a lot of horses, when people ask them to stop, they stop, motor, but then they're leaning on the bit. But because they stop, the rider releases, and they actually teach the horse to lean on the bit because they release when they were leaning. Because you know, someone just think, okay, they stopped, so I'm going to release. But if they stopped and leaned, they're still thinking forward.
Yeah.
So Mark says you don't increase the pressure, but you just hold it, neutral resistance, until that horse rocks back off of it, and then you release. Gotcha. So he's like, it's not that they do it, it's how they do it. And this all then, you know, builds on, okay, well, I'll just ask a horse. So when I get on a horse, I get on, and if they go to move left or right, if they get on and go to move immediately, I'm like, their mind's not here, their mind's down the fence already. So then I will just open a rein and just, with one rein, just wait until they stop, or wait until they at least flick an ear or give me their attention, and then I'll release.
Gotcha.
And it comes back. This then ties to attunement with Warwick Schiller. So when you acknowledge me, I acknowledge you by releasing. Now we're aware of each other.
Gotcha.
And that's the connection, is that the horse now knows, when you gave me your attention, I released the pressure. It became a good deal. I'm aware of you. Can you be aware of me? When you're aware of me, I'm aware of you.
Like, I see you.
I see you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then they go, oh, because that's what horses offer to each other. That's why they look for each other. That's why you turn a horse out in a field. They're immediately aware of each other. But if their initial interactions with humans have been, you know, not intentionally but dismissive, when a horse gives you information of communication and you dismiss it, the horse is going to stop offering that, and they're also going to stop communicating with you because you don't respond to it. So why would they tell you anything?
And them not giving communication is like super technical, but like the more common term, the street word, is just them being dull.
Being dull.
My horse is really dull.
100%.
Blah, 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 but it's like
super dull. Doesn't respond. Dull. Exploded out of nowhere. Super common term. Well, they just exploded, and it's like, well, no, they were probably not okay, but they were in this, you know, like we talk about shutdown horses, so they're just doing what they think they need to do to survive until they're not okay. It would be like us, and I really relate it to human relationships where if you bring up, you know, your ideas or thoughts and they get dismissed, you're going to stop offering them.
Yeah, you're eventually just going to shut down and be
You're just going to be like, well, I'm just going to sit over here and not say anything. Right? And that's what is happening with these horses is they feel like, well, I told you I wasn't okay, but you made me do it anyways. And now I'm going to carry this tension around. And that's where I see.
One thing, too, is a lot of horses, some of the horses that I have, I find are so quiet with their cues. You got to watch so closely.
Super subtle.
You feel like your horse exploded out of nowhere. But they've been talking to you and you
the
just
whole time
don't see it.
You don't see it.
So you got to watch. Some horses, their cues are so loud. You see it immediately. Their face.
I would rather work with one of those horses any day of the week. Give me a reactive horse.
Another horse, like the slightest cue is them saying that I'm not happy. So really, you got to be so sensitive.
Well, and this brings up a really good point. So we were working with a couple of Alex's horses, and we thought this horse, so even me, like we thought he was just a bit of a turkey. Like he was just always had things in his mouth. He was like ADD horse is how you describe him. He wasn't bad. He didn't look insecure. But when we were just like, he always was chewing on something or always doing this stuff, and we were just like, stop it. And then there was an incident, and then we really just changed that. We were like, wait, we need to look at him the way we're looking at all these other horses, and we're like, oh my god, he's not okay. And so like Alex was leading him up to the track, and she's like, I heard his breath pick up. He started breathing heavier. What else? His head went up.
Every time we would take a step close to the track, his nostrils would get a little bigger, and he'd start breathing harder, and he would just slightly raise his head.
And get a little tense.
Something weird is happening here. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to wait, and I'm going to see if he relaxes. Then he'd relax, I'd take a couple more steps, and he'd go right back.
And then he'd go right back up.
So what was it?
There was a pressure.
So he was insecure. So he was scared of leaving. So just for context, our barns, we have the main barn arena, and then our barrel pen is up on a hill, and then beyond that is the track.
Where the standard breds
are. Where the standard breds are, and where it's big, wide open away from all the horses. So he'd walk like a drunk person, and like he was bouncing around, and he was walking like a drunk person, and we just are like, oh, he's just so unbalanced, and blah, 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 blah. And then just the other day, I was in the round pen with a horse, and Alex was working with him, and I just went, he wouldn't stand still, and I just went, let's connect his mind to the aids. And that's all I did. With him, he wasn't changing his thoughts with pressure on the rein. So I had to incorporate the flag. So what I did was, from the ground, I just asked him to bend towards me like we would. And he would, but he wouldn't look, and he'd keep his ears in the other direction, and he would just lean on it. So then I took the flag, and I just rustled it a little until he looked at me, and then I released. So we connected his mind to the rein, and then I got on, and I connected the mind to the reins. So just same thing, just asked him to follow it, and then when he actually followed it, and I think I had to use the flag a couple times.
On his back, yeah.
On his back.
Yeah.
And then this horse dropped his head, walked off in a straight line, and walked all the way around the arena.
Wow.
And we're just looking at each other like
that was magic?
oh my god, like
we thought there was something physiologically wrong with him. Like he can't walk straight.
he was so
He's like a drunk
unbalanced.
person.
He'd been in an accident.
Should we get him tested?
Yeah, well, no, he had been injured as a child, like as a young child.
Yeah, really bad scar.
But he had a really bad scar in his hind end, so we're like, he must have really bad muscle damage. He just can't walk.
Yeah.
And that kind of just makes me think of like everyone just like having that excuse.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can like think of all the reasons in your head, like this is
what we were doing. We just thought he was a bit of a turkey, and we're just like, oh, he's just busy and this, that, and the other.
That's so cool.
And then I was like, and it's so funny because I've been doing this for like really gone down this path since 2018.
Okay.
But I would say since I got on Clubhouse was like a really big shift for me because I met all these other people and connected with all these other trainers in Europe, and they really challenged me on some things.
Yeah, I've listened to a few like Clubhouse things with those guys, and like all the European knowledge. It just is so like they seem a lot more. I don't want to say advanced, but they just like their philosophies seem so much more with like the horse actually in mind. Like they are biomechanically like figuring out everything about the horse, like how they just naturally move, how they naturally think, and actually using that to their advantage. Yeah. Like what is that even?
Oh yeah, like so Nancy. They're both German, so Heber is like Nancy and Michaela.
Nice.
Michaela is trailer loading expert and problem horse expert, and Nancy, she's like, I don't subscribe to any discipline. She's a rehab specialist.
Okay.
So she takes on all these different horses, some of them high level, like Grand Prix dressage horses, some of them different levels, and she's just, I call her the walking encyclopedia. Like I ask her a question and she can just like tell me everything times 100. Like it just every time I'm like, wow, like I didn't think of it that way. And like she taught me about safe distance.